In every home, behind every closed door, there's a story waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where we dive deep into the hidden truths of domestic crime and the relationships that turn deadly. If you're drawn to real stories, powerful insights, and the shadows most people avoid, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and step into the whispers they never wanted you to hear.
A little boy, barefoot, wandering the streets of Milwaukee at night, looking for his mama. But here's what that baby didn't know. His mama wasn't coming back. She couldn't, because the man who shot her in front of him had just dumped her body in an alley like trash. And girl, when police connected the dots on what really happened that night, let me tell you something. This wasn't just about rent money or a broken faucet. This was about a landlord who decided 2 lives weren't worth the complaints they filed against him. November 4th started like any other day at the house near 12th and Capitol in Milwaukee. But by the time the sun went down, 2 people would be dead, a child would be traumatized for life, and a 54-year-old man would be sitting in an interrogation room confessing to it all. Kevin Griffin, that's the name. Remember it, because what he did that day, what he admitted to doing, is the kind of evil that makes you question everything. Let's back up. Let's talk about who these people were before Kevin Griffin decided they didn't deserve to breathe anymore. Terrence Wilder, 39 years old, a father, a son, a nephew. The kind of person his family describes as happy, someone who loved his kids, loved his family. His aunt would later say,
"He's not a violent person. He didn't deserve it."
And she's right, he didn't. But Terrence was living in Kevin Griffin's house, renting the upstairs unit. And that's where everything went wrong. Then there's Ania Raymond, 31 years old, a mother to a young son who couldn't speak, a nonverbal child who depended on her for everything. She lived in that same house. And on November 4th, she made the mistake of being in the wrong room at the wrong time. At least that's what Griffin would later tell police, like that somehow made it okay. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time, like her life was just collateral damage. Kevin Griffin owned that house near 12th and Capitol. Property records confirm it. He was the landlord. Terrence was his tenant. And let me tell you something about Kevin Griffin, this wasn't his first time catching charges. Prosecutors say he'd been charged with 14 different felonies over the years. 14! He was a convicted felon, already on record for driving a vehicle without the owner's consent. So when he decided to pick up a gun on November 4th, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he wasn't supposed to have that weapon. He knew the consequences, but he did it anyway. Now, here's where it gets real. Terrence Wilder wasn't just living in Griffin's house, paying rent and minding his business. There was tension. See, Griffin was trying to evict Terrence. The official reason? Griffin claimed Terrence had moved other people into the unit who weren't on the lease and weren't paying
behind
rent.
every closed
Terrence,
door,
he had his own
there's
complaints,
a story waiting to
big
be
ones.
uncovered.
For 2 months,
Welcome to
Terrence
Dark
Wilder
Whispers,
didn't have hot
where
water
we
in
dive
his
deep into the
apartment.
hidden
2
truths
whole
of domestic
months.
crime
Think about that.
and the
No hot
relationships
showers,
that turn
no way
deadly.
to properly wash dishes,
If you're drawn to
no
real
hot water
stories,
to care for yourself in
powerful
your own home that you're paying
insights,
rent for,
and the
so what
shadows
did
most
Terrence
people
do?
avoid,
He called the city.
you're in the right
He
place.
filed complaints.
Subscribe
he stood
now
up for himself
and
the
step
way
into
any
the
tenant
whispers
has
they
the
never
right to
wanted
do,
you to hear.
And the city responded. Inspectors came out. They looked at Griffin's property and found violations. Leaking faucets, a busted drain, a porch door that needed fixing. The city ordered Kevin Griffin to fix these issues. But girl, guess what? He didn't. At the time of the murders, none of those repairs had been done. None of them. Terrence's family believes that's what this was really about. Retaliation.
He was upset because Terrence called the city on him.
One family member would later say. When asked if they thought the murders were retaliation for those complaints, the answer was clear.
Yes, I do.
So picture the scene. You've got a landlord who's been charged with 14 felonies in the past. You've got a tenant who's standing up for his rights, demanding basic living conditions like hot water. You've got city inspectors ordering repairs that never get done. You've got eviction proceedings happening, and you've got all of these people living under the same roof. Terrence upstairs, Anaya and her son upstairs, Griffin downstairs. The tension had to be thick enough to cut with a knife. The argument on November 4th was about a back door being left open. That's what prosecutors say Griffin and Terrence were fighting about. Not rent, not the eviction, not even the city complaints directly. A back door. But let's be real, it was never really about that door. It was about everything that door represented. It was about a tenant who wouldn't just accept substandard living conditions. It was about complaints filed and inspectors called. It was about a landlord who felt disrespected, challenged, held accountable. And for Kevin Griffin. That was too much. In his own words to police, Griffin said he just lost it. Just lost it. Like that's an explanation. Like that's supposed to make sense. You just lost it. So you grabbed a gun and shot your tenant in his own bedroom? Make it make sense. Terrence Wilder was in his room when it happened, his own space, the place where he should have felt safest. And Kevin Griffin came in there and shot him. One gunshot. That's all it took. Terrence fell onto his bed and he never got back up. His family's nightmare, the hell they talk about, it started in that moment.
You stole something that wasn't yours to steal. Yeah, you didn't deserve that.
But here's where this story takes an even darker turn, because Terrence wasn't alone in that room. Anaya Raymond was there too. She saw everything. She watched Kevin Griffin shoot Terrence Wilder. She was a witness, and in that moment, her fate was sealed. Griffin didn't panic. He didn't call 911. He didn't try to help Terrence. He didn't let Anaya run. No. He made a decision right then and there. Anaya had seen too much. Her son was there too. This little nonverbal boy who couldn't tell anyone what happened, even if he wanted to. And Kevin Griffin looked at this woman, this mother, this witness, and decided she had to go too. He forced Anaya and her son into his car, his Mercedes. Can you imagine? You just watched someone get murdered. You're terrified. Your child is with you. And now the killer is forcing you into his car. Where is he taking you? What's he going to do? Anaya had to know. She had to know she was in danger. Griffin drove them around Milwaukee. Prosecutors say at some point during this drive, Anaya tried to defend herself. She pulled out a knife. She had mace. She was fighting for her life, fighting to get back to her son, fighting to survive. But Kevin Griffin had a gun, and he used it. He shot Anaya Raymond in front of her son, in front of her baby. That little boy watched his mother get killed. He watched the man who was supposed to be their landlord, the man they lived with, pull the trigger on his mama. And he couldn't even scream for help. He couldn't tell anyone. He was nonverbal. All he could do was watch. And what did Kevin Griffin do after that? Did he show any remorse? Any humanity? Any recognition that he'd just murdered a woman in front of her child? No. He drove to an alley near 41st and Hampton, and he dumped Anaya's body like she was nothing. Like she was trash he needed to dispose of. Her family would later say,
I won't be able to see my daughter grow old. I wasn't supposed to bury her, she was supposed to bury me.
That's the pain he caused. That's the life he stole. But Griffin wasn't done yet. He still had Anaya's son in the car. This traumatized little boy who just watched his mother die. And Griffin had to decide what to do with him. He could have taken him to a hospital. He could have dropped him off at a police station. He could have called someone, anyone, to come get this child. But no. Kevin Griffin had a different plan. He drove back to the house. He put the little boy in Anaya's car. Then he drove that car to another location, somewhere near 9th and Keefe. And you know what he told that baby? He told him to wait right there. Wait for his mother to come get him. His dead mother. The woman he'd just murdered and dumped in an alley. He told this nonverbal child, this traumatized little boy, to just sit there and wait for someone who was never coming. Then Kevin Griffin left. He just left that baby there, alone, in the dark, barefoot, waiting for his mama. Hours passed before Milwaukee police found that little boy. Hours of him sitting there, confused, scared, probably wondering where his mama was, why she wasn't coming back. When officers finally discovered him near 9th and Keefe, wandering barefoot and abandoned. They had no idea what they were dealing with yet. They had a lost child, no identification, nonverbal, so he couldn't tell them his name, couldn't tell them what happened, couldn't tell them about the horrors he'd witnessed. But police started working the case. They were trying to figure out where this child came from, who he belonged to, what had happened to leave him alone on the streets at night. And that's when the pieces started coming together in the worst possible way. Earlier that same night, police had responded to a different call. A body had been found in an alley near 41st and Hampton. A woman, shot. When they processed that scene, they started gathering evidence, trying to identify the victim, trying to figure out who would do this and why. That woman was Ania Raymond, 31 years old, mother of the little boy they'd found wandering alone. But investigators still didn't have the full picture, not yet, because there was another crime scene they hadn't connected yet. The house near 12th and Capitol, the place where all three of them lived. That's where they found Terrence Wilder's body lying in his bed in the upstairs unit, one gunshot wound, dead in his own bedroom. Now police had 2 murders, 2 victims, and 1 missing child who'd been found wandering the streets. The dots were starting to connect, but they needed to understand how these deaths were related. Were they dealing with separate incidents? A coincidence? Or was there one person responsible for all of this? The investigation led them to Kevin Griffin, the landlord, the man who owned the house, the man who lived downstairs while his tenants lived above him, the man with 14 prior felonies, the convicted felon who wasn't supposed to have a gun in the first place. When police brought Griffin in for questioning, what happened next was almost too easy. He confessed, just like that. He told them everything. Griffin admitted he shot Terrence Wilder on November 4th. He said they got into an argument about the back door being left open, and he just lost it. Lost it so much that he grabbed a gun and shot his tenant in the head. He confirmed that Ania Raymond was in the room when it happened. She witnessed the whole thing. And that's when Griffin said something that shows you exactly who he is as a person. He told police Ania was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like she happened to be standing on a sidewalk when a car accident occurred. Not like she was a human being who witnessed a murder and paid for it with her life because the killer couldn't leave a witness breathing. He stripped her of her humanity with that one phrase. Reduced her entire existence, her role as a mother, her life, to bad timing. Griffin told investigators he forced Ania and her son into his Mercedes and drove them around. He admitted that at some point, Ania tried to defend herself. She pulled out a knife and mace. She was fighting back, fighting to survive, fighting to get back to her son. And Kevin Griffin admitted he shot her, right there in the car. With her child sitting there watching, he confessed to it all. Then he told them what he did with her body, how he drove to that alley near 41st and Hampton and dumped her there. How he took her son back to the house, put him in Ania's car, drove him to another location near 9th and Keefe, and told the child to wait there for his mother. Told a little boy who just watched his mama get murdered to sit tight because she was coming to get him. The cruelty of that, the calculated coldness, it's almost hard to believe. Prosecutors charged Kevin Griffin with both homicides, 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. On top of that, they hit him with being a felon in possession of a firearm. Because let's not forget, this man was a convicted felon. He wasn't supposed to have a gun at all. He knew that. He'd already been through the system 14 times before. He knew exactly what he was doing when he picked up that weapon. The court set Griffin's bond at $500,000, $500,000. And they added special conditions. He cannot have any dangerous weapons. Like that even needs to be said at this point. The man used a gun to kill 2 people and traumatize a child. But hey, that's the legal system doing what it does. During the court proceedings, the details that came out painted an even clearer picture of what happened. Griffin's defense didn't really have much to stand on. He'd already confessed. He'd already told police exactly what he did and why he did it. The prosecutors laid it all out. The argument about the back door, the shooting of Terrence Wilder, Ania witnessing it, the kidnapping, the second murder in front of a child, the body dump, the abandoned boy. Griffin sat there through it all, 54 years old, looking at spending the rest of his life behind bars. And for what? Because his tenant complained about not having hot water? Because someone left a door open? Because he couldn't handle being held accountable for maintaining his property? The families of both victims were there. Terrence Wilder's family, still processing their nightmare, their hell. His aunt spoke about how Terrence didn't deserve what happened to him, how he wasn't a violent person, how he loved his kids and his family. She talked about the headaches and heartache they'd been dealing with since November 4th. And then she said what every grieving family says when they're looking at the person who destroyed their lives. We hope that he gets what he deserves. Anaya Raymond's family was there too. Her mother, having to bury her own daughter, going against the natural order of things.
I wasn't supposed to bury her. She was supposed to bury me.
The pain in those words, the absolute devastation of losing your child to senseless violence, and knowing that her grandson, Ania's son, watched it happen. That little boy is going to carry that trauma for the rest of his life. The prosecution made it clear this wasn't a case of self-defense. This wasn't a situation where Griffin felt threatened and reacted. This was a landlord who got angry at his tenant for asserting his rights, for demanding basic living conditions, for filing complaints with the city. This was about power and control, and what happens when someone like Kevin Griffin feels like he's losing both. He chose violence. He chose murder. Twice. Griffin's prior record came up too. Those 14 felonies. The pattern of behavior. The fact that he was already a convicted felon when he committed these murders.
Prosecutors charge a Milwaukee landlord accused of killing 2 people that are living above him.
Investigators say the murders stem from an argument in the upper unit at 12th and Capitol.
Investigative reporter James Stratton is live at the jail. James, family of one of the victims says he was killed over complaints that he made about his apartment.
And Ray and Blake, family telling us that he had been without water, the victim in this case, for up to 2 months, and that he took those complaints to the city. Records show that he did as well. But it was an argument, prosecutors say, between the tenant and the landlord that reached a boiling point and led to 2 murders. A single flower and a bottle of liquor perched on the porch of the home of Kevin Griffin, the memorial for Griffin's tenant, Terrence Wilder, and Anaya Raymond, who prosecutors say Griffin killed. Behind the now boarded up door, records show police found the body of Terrence Wilder with 1 gunshot lying in his bed in the upstairs unit.
This has been my nightmare, my hell.
His family shocked Monday.
You stole something that wasn't yours to steal. Yeah, you didn't deserve that.
Prosecutors say Wilder and Griffin were arguing about leaving the back door open when Griffin says he shot him because he, quote, just lost it. Prosecutors say Anaya Raymond, who also lived there, witnessed the murder. They say he put her and her nonverbal son in his Mercedes and drove them around. Eventually, he told prosecutors she pulled a knife and mace, and he shot her in front of her son. They say he dumped her body in this alley near 41st and Hampton, and prosecutors say he told them she, quote, was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I won't be able to see my daughter grow old. I wasn't supposed to bury her. She was supposed to bury me.
Prosecutors say he then took Raymond's son back to his house, put him in her car, drove him to another location, and, quote, told the child to wait there for his mother to come get him. Police found the boy hours later. Records show Griffin was in the process of evicting Wilder, alleging he moved others in not on the lease or paying rent. Wilder complained to the city, saying he didn't have hot water for 2 months.
He was upset because Terrence called the city on him.
Do you think this was retaliation for that?
Yes, I do.
City records show inspectors ordered Griffin to fix leaking faucets, fix a drain and a porch door, which none appear to have been fixed at the time the landlord is charged with taking the lives of 2 people living above him.
James Griffin is being held on a $500,000 bond.
Going through intake court yesterday, Rhea, prosecutors say that they charged him previously with 14 different felonies over the years. In this case specifically, on top of the homicides, he's also charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm.
All right, James Stratton live for us this evening. Thanks so much, James.
The memorial on Kevin Griffin's porch, that single flower and bottle of liquor, it represents something bigger. It represents lives cut short, dreams destroyed, families torn apart, all because a 54 38-year-old man with 14 prior felonies couldn't handle being told to fix some leaking faucets and provide hot water. Terrence Wilder's family said they want what's right. They want Griffin to get what he deserves. Ania Raymond's mother said she wasn't supposed to bury her daughter. These are the voices that matter. These are the people left behind to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, while Kevin Griffin sits in a cell thinking about the choices he made on November 4th. This story isn't unique, and that's the saddest part. Landlord-tenant disputes happen every day. People living in substandard conditions, fighting for basic rights, calling inspectors, filing complaints. Most of the time, it doesn't end in murder. Most of the time, the system works the way it's supposed to, even if it's slow and frustrating. But every once in a while, you get someone like Kevin Griffin, someone who decides that their pride, their control, their anger is worth more than human. And that's when tragedy happens. The question we're left with is simple. How do we protect people like Terrence Wilder? How do we make sure that exercising your rights as a tenant doesn't become a death sentence? How do we hold landlords accountable before it reaches this point? Because the city inspectors came. They documented the violations. They ordered repairs. But they didn't follow up. They didn't make sure Griffin complied. They didn't know that the tension in that house was building to something deadly. Maybe there's no good answer. Maybe sometimes evil just happens, and there's nothing we could have done to stop it. But that doesn't mean we stop asking the questions. That doesn't mean we stop demanding better. That doesn't mean we stop fighting for the Terrence Wilders of the world who just want hot water and a safe place to live. Kevin Griffin made his choices. He picked up that gun. He pulled the trigger. Twice. He looked at a mother and her child and decided they were expendable. He dumped a body in an alley. He abandoned a traumatized little boy on the street. Those were his decisions. And now he's going to live with the consequences. But Terrence Wilder's family? They're living with consequences too. Consequences they didn't choose. They're living with the absence of someone they loved. They're living with the knowledge that he died over something as simple as demanding decent living conditions. Ania Raymond's family is living with the same pain. And her son? He's living with trauma that will shape the rest of his life. That's what Kevin Griffin left behind. Not just two bodies, but a wake of destruction that's going to ripple through families and communities for years to come. And for what? A back door, some housing complaints, his ego. November 4th, one house, two murders, one confession. And a little boy who's going to spend the rest of his life wondering why the man who was supposed to keep them safe was the same man who took his mama away. That's the story of Terrence Wilder and Ania Raymond. Two lives that mattered, two people who deserved better, two victims of a man who chose violence over accountability. Remember their names. Remember what happened to them. And remember that when we talk about housing rights, when we talk about tenant protections, when we talk about holding landlords accountable, we're not just talking about policies and procedures. We're talking about lives, real lives. Lives like Terrence's and Ania's. Lives that can be taken in an instant by someone who decides they're above the law. Rest in peace, Terrence Wilder. Rest in peace, Ania Raymond. Your families will never forget you, and neither will we.